Sometimes you just got to find a way to win. Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and that was one of the uglier games of the season, despite it still being a win. But the Niners do walk out of Monday Night Football with a 20-9 victory over the Carolina Panthers. They stay afloat in the NFC wild card picture. I think they still are the 7th seed in the wild card as things stand now, but they got the win. And quite frankly, in a season like this, that is all that matters for the red and gold, but it does not come without its good, and it's very, very, very bad. And I think it's important to start off with the bad, because everybody's going to be talking about the bad, and that is quarterback Brock Purdy. But first, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show, and let's dive into the Niners' Week 12 victory over the Carolina Panthers 20-9 on prime time under the lights at Levi Stadium, Monday Night Football leading into Thanksgiving. And Brock was in a giving mood tonight. Unfortunately, it was not to his own team. Now, Purdy finished with 1 touchdown on the day, and it was really the very first drive where I think we all thought, oh, Purdy's carrying over the performance he did against the Cardinals, and this could be a long game for that Panthers defense. The Niners offense on that first drive goes 15 plays, nearly 8.5 minutes, marches almost the entirety of the field, and Purdy looks awesome, right? He's 6 for 7, 33 yards, throws 1 touchdown. He's moving in the pocket. He's making throws downfield, throwing the ball away. He's on point. And they cap that thing off with a 2nd and 10 touchdown pass to Jauan Jennings, who fights through 3 tackles on that Panthers defense, who at the time wasn't injured. And everything looks great. Like, this is perfect. This is what you want. This is what you believe this Niners offense can be against a rather mediocre-ish, bad Panthers team as a whole. And we're feeling good. I'm currently at my parents' house for the holidays, and my dad's like, he's screaming, yelling. I'm having a good time too. We're all having a jolly good show, if you will. And then all of a sudden, it was like Purdy, who was seeing things wide open, and it was like there's so many lanes and soft zones, and the floodgates opened to everything turned black, and it was just a dark void. It was like he fell into the upside down. Stranger Things comes out in a couple days. It was seeing Stranger Things out there at Levi Stadium today. It was not great for Brock Purdy and company. It wasn't good by any means. And we have a question here. Someone who I truly, truly love, but he definitely is not a big Brock Purdy fan. The great one, 765, says, are you going to make more excuses for Purdy again? As I always tell you when I come in your chat, Purdy ain't that guy. Now, I think I've always been someone pretty consistent in regards to when Purdy's good, you praise him. And Purdy's bad, you talk about why it was bad, what made it bad. And today, it was really bad. You cannot excuse some of the plays Brock Purdy made. Now, I will say this. Whether I like it, you like it, anybody likes it, I don't know. This team is going to have to live and die by the Brock Purdy. And that comes with a lot of great things, like against the Cardinals. Tonight, it comes with some bad things. And I think Shanahan put it best that Brock and the 3 interceptions, at least, like, how do you quantify a mistake like the 3 he made, which it really could have been 5. Like, Brock was not seeming to feel good at all tonight. He made that Panthers defense look like it was amazing, and the Panthers defense isn't terrible, but it isn't top 10 in football, and he was giving the ball away, like it was a homeless shelter on a holiday. You want a free plate? You want a free plate? You want a free plate? Making J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson look like all pros in prime time, and they're not. And I think when you look at the play itself, or the plays, because there was plural of them, the first interception, I think, to me, like the first 2 are the most inexcusable, because the first interception, you're winning 7-0, your defense is playing good football, and you have a chance backed up against your own 8-yard line, your own goal line, to run the football, make the nice play, live to fight the next down. And that always seems to be Purdy's biggest mistake. He's gets into a kind of lull where he doesn't live to fight the next down. And it cost him twice tonight, really big. And when your quarterback, who albeit or who is a shorter guy, I will add, isn't seeing the field well, it makes it really tough because Purdy's always going to want to make those plays. Purdy's always going to want to be a gunslinger. I said it plenty of times here on the show on 95.7 The Game that sometimes you don't want Brock to be a machine gunner, a guy who's just taking shots. You don't want that. You want Brock to be a sniper. And I think, it's about taking calculated risks. And on some of these, you can explain and kind of, okay, this makes sense. Like the Brock Purdy's third interception tonight. J.C. Horn is over on the left side of the defense with just no one's over there. So what does he do? Purdy, not thinking the left side cornerback's going to run all the way to the right side of the field and get an interception, doesn't even look his way, because why would you? That one I can shrug off. Okay, a cornerback made a great play, so be it. But it's the first two picks that I think and should be most fans' biggest areas of complaint tonight. Because you played a Panthers team that was walking into your place with everything to play for, right? If they won this game, they're ahead of the Buccaneers in the NFC South. They're playing for first place. They're a young team. They want to beat you. And if you're San Francisco, granted, you're 7-4 walking into this game, like, you have a lot to play for too, but young, unproven teams that are wild cards, they're literal wild cards, right? And anything can happen. If anything, we've seen with the Niners the last couple of years, anything can happen. They're always due for a really awkward, bad, stupid loss, whether it's against Phillip Walker and the Browns a couple of years ago, or it's Kirk Cousins in Minnesota Monday Night Football, or against the Falcons late in the season in 2019. They just have these weird losses throughout the year. In this game, after Purdy's second pick, felt like, we could be in trouble. But I want to go back to the decision itself from Brock Purdy on that first interception. So he's backed up against his own 8-yard line, right? The one thing you can't do if you're a quarterback there is, one, take a sack. Don't be Caleb Williams and run into your own end zone against the Pittsburgh Steelers and fumble the football. Don't be that dumb. Or turn the ball over, because the one thing you have to do, even if you're getting 2 yards and your offense can't get a first down, you cannot give the team the ball on your side of the field, especially inside your own 30 and 20, when nowadays the kickoff rule essentially gives people the football on their own 40-yard line, right? So that's like a mistake you can't make. And I don't know if it's the turf toe. It shouldn't be. Maybe it is. But Purdy doesn't have the strongest arm already. And you add in turf toe, maybe that's a component to it. But I think it came more down to not bad decision-making, just simply couldn't make the throw, or at least was late on the throw. And when you're seeing things late against a more opportunistic defense, like the Cardinals couldn't do it last Sunday, but the Panthers can, as we saw tonight. They're not going to drop interceptions. The Cardinals would. And when you're late on throws, like the one to Jauan Jennings over the middle of the football field, which I will say is not a bad decision to make, but you better be guaranteeing you can make that throw. And Brock simply, at this point in time, whether it's because of the foot, but you can also say that Brock, even when he was healthy last year, a couple years ago, he would lift some throws too high as well. And you can't make that throw. I'd rather you take a check down than force a throw deep downfield for no reason. When, okay, you can give him a punt, give him the ball back, your defense plays good football. It really all comes down to, how do you put your team in the best place to win? And making a throw like that downfield with the quarterback that is somewhat compromised, but I don't know how much that goes into his arm, because it looked really good against the Cardinals last weekend, albeit there were some bad decisions in there. But you just can't make throws like that. You can't be late on throws and have some hindrances. Now, if the hindrances are not apparent and aren't relevant to the conversation, you still can't make throws like that knowing you don't have the strongest arm in football, and at least be late on those throws. Like, if you want to kind of make it simple, Brock not having a Mahomes, Josh Allen-like arm, which we know he doesn't have and shouldn't be the expectation, he can't take those risks continually. And Brock continues to take risks like that. And you love it because it can get you big plays. Like, even tonight, there was a 25-yard throw to Kittle in a soft zone, but amongst 3 Panthers defenders. You love that play. I thought Brock threw some really nice balls tonight, but you can't do that and then also turn the ball over 3 times. It's inexcusable. And for a team like the Niners, who don't really have a great defense, albeit they were really good tonight. You just can't put your team in a compromising position like that, especially on your own side of the football, or own side of the field, excuse me. So the first play, threw it behind Jauan Jennings. Here comes JC Horn, snags it out of the air, and it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? Can't do that, Brock. That one, just not a good throw at all. Behind the guy, late to the guy, you just can't make throws like that. Brock knows that, I know that, you know that. There's no excuses there. Whether your toe hurts or not, which it may or may not, I don't know, you just can't make throws like that. You can't be late on throws like that when you are compromised, or if you're not compromised, you don't have the strongest arm in the world. Your margin for error is way thinner than other guys that have stronger arms. Take Mac Jones, for example. Mac Jones wouldn't have forced throws like that or made throws like that or even attempted throws like that. But Mac Jones has the arm to fit throws in like that. So it's kind of a give and take of like, you want Brock to make the throws like the one to Jauan or the one to Pearsall, but you better make sure you're on point because you don't have the laser like other teams do. And so when you try to throw tight window throws, which Brock has shown the ability to make those, you just better make sure you're accurate. And Brock wasn't tonight. And that's a big problem. Thankfully, it didn't cost San Francisco, but it almost did. The second interception to me, albeit was less aggressive, because you can argue, or was less egregious, excuse me, because the first interception, you gave the Panthers offense the ball at like your 16-yard line. You cannot give the opponent the ball in your own red zone on first down. That almost gave Carolina some points offensively, which could have been a touchdown. However, the second one took points off the board for San Francisco. And had the worst things come to worse, you could have cost yourself 3 points at least on offense and given the Panthers 7 points, creating some sort of, 10-point swing. It didn't work out that way, but it certainly could have. That second pick, though, really sucked because you're on Carolina's 28-yard line. It's 3rd and 6. Okay, if you get 4 yards in 4th and 2, you're going for it on 4th down. If you scramble for 3 yards, which in this case, Purdy's running has about 6 yards, if not more, 10 yards of free space to run for a first down. He's just looking for the home run. And like the first interception, live to fight the next down. Purdy does this against the Seahawks in week 1. That was the big complaint by me of like, you cannot make mistakes like that on 1st and 2nd down. Now here, it's 3rd and 6. You can get a field goal. You can go for it on 4th down. You have every reason to go for it on 4th down. McCaffrey was awesome tonight. Your defense was great tonight. Like, you're just not playing smart football. You're not being calculated in your efforts or your risk taking. And it wasn't a good game. Brock got really greedy on 3rd and 6 on Carolina's 28-yard line, stared down Pearsall deep downfield. Again, I like the decision. I like the decision of being aggressive there. Take a shot. I don't mind that. But again, if you take those risks, that ball better be up in the air. That ball better be overthrown, not underthrown. And that ball was underthrown to Pearsall, and it gets picked off, and it's not good. And it makes it worse because he could have scrambled for a first down, or Kittle is just sitting wide open in the middle of the field with like one defender 3 yards behind him. And it's like, if you just took your eyes from up to in front of you, there's grass all over the place. And it's just like, oh, Brock, like, come on, man. Like, we've seen you be so much better than this. And you can't make excuses like this. And I don't know if it's a Monday Night Football thing. Like, from my knowledge, I think I'm right. I think Brock, he lost to the Ravens on Monday Night Football. May have been Sunday Night Football on Christmas Day a couple years ago. Forgive me if I'm wrong there. But he definitely lost to the Vikings on Monday Night Football and threw 2 picks in that game. May have been concussed. I don't know. Then tonight, threw 3 picks. The last interception, I can erase that from my mind, whatever. But it's the first 2 that really suck because, 1, you cost your team points. But then 2, you could have gave them 7 points. And you just can't have your quarterback doing things like that. You just can't have your quarterback making mistakes. Like, people on social media, people in the chat now are saying you should have played Mac Jones. Like Garrett Dale says here, I'm sorry, Sterling, but I've been saying this since I saw Mac play, and that is Brock will have more than one game with multiple horrific interceptions. I just hope the Niners have the balls to go back to Mac Jones. Well, Garrett, Shanahan after the game was asked about Purdy's interceptions, and he essentially said, if the decisions were poor, he didn't say he'd bench Purdy, but he felt different about them. But Shanahan defended Purdy's interceptions, essentially saying that they were the right decisions, just threw it late, threw it behind guys. And if you're going to be late, you want to overthrow guys, you want to throw wide of a guy where no defender is. But Brock didn't do that, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Like, Brock doesn't have the ability physically to be late on passes over the middle, which you saw Brock in 23 and even last year in 24, albeit there was a lot of context as to why things weren't great. Brock was making plays like that a lot. Now, this year, against Seattle, Jacksonville, now against Carolina, 3 of his 4 games he's played have been nightmare turnover fuel, and that's not where you want to be as a quarterback, and it's not where this team can afford to be going forward. Now, I don't think that, they're going to bench Brock Purdy. You're not going to do that. I know some fans will ask for that. I know some fans, will say, give me Mac Jones, and I get it. I think some of the fans tonight at Levi's were booing. I think that was more of the offense as a whole and kind of the circumstance of like, we're not scoring points against the Panthers who were terrible, which I get that. My dad was pissed. I was pissed. And I was like, thank God we're ahead 7-3 because the defense was saving our butts 24/7 in this game. But it's like you can't have one great drive and then take a setback for 2.5 quarters after that. You're not going to beat teams like the Seahawks or the Rams. And I don't know if that's your expectation for the year, but it certainly is theirs. Like, they believe they can go pretty far in the playoffs with the team they have. And you can't, you have to play mistake-free football with this team, especially on defense against good offenses. Maybe you can beat the Bucs, who aren't playing good now. You can beat Carolina, you can beat the Cardinals, but you can probably beat the Browns, who have a really good defense and are going to be tough anyways. You can do it against Tennessee, who are starting to play better football as of recent, almost beat Seattle this past Sunday. But you can't do it against the Colts. You can't do it against the Bears. You can't do it against Seahawks. So it's like games like this are simply unacceptable from Brock Purdy because you can't put this version of the 49ers behind the 8 ball. And when you do that, you're going to get screwed and lose football games. And I don't think it would be best for this team, after paying Brock Purdy, to watch him be the reason you lose games like this. There's no reason why this game was 20-9 at the end of it. Now, okay, maybe the game, let's say it was, 27-9. I think we all would have said, that makes sense. Yeah. That's a 1-score difference, but it's a big 1-score difference when the Panthers offense was just stuck in the mud and the defense played so good. Like, Bryce was terrible tonight. Terrible. San Francisco's run defense was somehow elite tonight, which is shocking, but it's been playing better recent, and it showed again tonight against Dowdle, who has been a top 5 running back in football all year. But Brock Purdy should be buying Tacomas for that defense and Chris McCaffrey and company because they saved his butt tonight. He knows that. He's going to go to bed and be pissed, as he should. But we have 2 super chats here by Tommy Huxley. I want to get to those. $2, 2 apiece for $4. Thank you so much, Tommy. You are our lead fairy on the show. He says, Ernberg, referring to one of our other friends, Joseph Ernberg, in the chat, saying, Ernberg said the Panthers would stomp us. Joseph always has fun in the comments, so we will antagonize him while we can. But then Tommy also says, Purdy sucked today. J.C. Horn was the only good defensive back. It just Purdy sucked today. That's fine. It's not fine, but that'll be the talking point. Wow, Purdy was terrible. Wow. Interceptions, and it all makes sense because he was really bad, really, really, really bad. And like I said, you just can't make throws like that, which is funny because we have kind of found ourselves, at least for tonight, in a quasi-semi Shanahan kind of not restricting Brock Purdy, not pulling a Jimmy Garoppolo of 2019 playoff run against the Packers and against the Vikings, where it's like, you threw 2 picks, we're done throwing the football. It wasn't the case because after halftime, once Purdy had thrown 3 picks, and he actually is the first quarterback all season to do so this season, which makes it sound even worse than it was. And thankfully, your defense plays good football to help avoid what could have been a very, very, very large deficit going into halftime. But Purdy out of halftime, my dad's sitting there on the couch, and I'm sitting there like, if you're Kyle, the one thing you can't do is, shackle your quarterback against the Panthers in week 12, knowing you have to play the Browns and the Titans in the next 3 weeks or so. And my dad was like, no, you need to bench him right now. They need to start talking about Mac Jones. And I was like, wait a minute. And then Purdy comes out at halftime, and with so much on his shoulders, Shanahan calls 4 of the first 5 plays for passing plays. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, they're not shying away. They're not, like, by any means benching Brock Purdy, which I think is crazy in its own right. But they're also not going to be afraid to continue to let Brock be Brock. I think that's the big takeaway from tonight, is that the defense was great. Special teams was awesome. Brant Boyer, Robert Saleh, my goodness. Like, you guys get your flowers. Ji'Ayir Brown, what a godsend, which if you would have told me I'd be saying that week 12, I would have laughed in your face. Now, I think Shanahan can't afford to shackle his quarterback, though. And he didn't do that. Again, at a halftime, for the first 5 plays are passing plays. And Purdy was 5 for 5 for 37 yards, 13 plays, 80-yard drive, 7 minutes and 45 seconds, bing, bang, boom, touchdown. But funny enough, it was the throws 15 yards downfield Purdy wasn't making, couldn't make, was making mistakes on continually. And it wasn't just the picks. There was 2 plays on the drives in I think it was second quarter when Purdy was just throwing picks left and right, back-to-back drives, basically, where he threw wide to Jauan Jennings, and I don't know if that was miscommunication, but still, it happened. Then there was a play to Kittle over the middle, like kind of a post route, and he just overshot him, and the cornerback ball went through his hands. So, like, Purdy could have walked away with 4 picks tonight, 5 picks tonight, and we're sitting here staring at a Baltimore Ravens game again. Now, I will say, and I can't think of the game it may have been the case where when San Francisco lost against the Ravens in 2023, when Brock threw 4 picks, he played the Commanders the next week and they just killed them. Now, the Commanders weren't good that year, but still, the point still stands. Brock bounces back and has an amazing game. And then I think against that same season against the Vikings and the loser Kirk Cousins Monday Night Football, was that going into the bye week? If not, it was coming back home against the Bengals and the team sucked, but I digress. If it was going into the bye week, then Brock crushed Jacksonville the next Sunday. And then you're hoping that this week is something different, or next week something different against the Browns. And the Browns have a heck of a defense. Like, you are not going to get away with this against Cleveland. I don't know what to expect from Shedeur Sanders and Cleveland next week. I don't know. I'm not expecting much, but they are at least more competitive now with Shedeur playing quarterback. That said, you're going to be under 10 times the pressure. You're going from the worst pass rush in football to the best, with a guy in Myles Garrett that may have the sack record at 25 sacks. It just doesn't, like, you cannot carry this over next Sunday, which most NFL teams try not to, and I have faith in Purdy. He's not going to do that. But my point is, it's not going to get any easier against Cleveland next weekend on the road in Cleveland against Myles Garrett and Blake Collins and that amazing Jim Schwartz defense. Like, it's going to get harder, and you just can't have Brock making things like you can't have Brock making plays like this and decisions like this. If you do, you will lose. If you do, you will miss the playoffs. And if you somehow make the playoffs, you'll lose in the playoffs in the first round. Like, this team has to live and die by the Purdy. And I think sometimes, like, it's okay to be reeled back in. Like, I'll say it again here. I said it earlier. Like, you want Purdy to be a gunslinger. However, the gun he's slinging, you want it to be a sniper rifle, not a machine gun. Not an automatic weapon. You don't want that. You want Purdy to, pick and choose his choices wisely. Make sure, like, this is going to happen. Like, take last Sunday against the Cardinals. He cans the play, can. He sees the coverage. He has Kittle set up for a deep target 30 yards downfield for a touchdown. Like, that is a calculated risk. You have man-on-man coverage against. Those are chances you'll take. In this game, and that was a sideline throw where you have some protection. If you overthrow a guy, it's not going to be a problem. But Purdy, in this game, threw 3 picks over the middle of the football field. Like, that's where you're going to get burnt. And when you make your bread and butter there, like most Shanahan offenses do, and most quarterbacks of Purdy's status and nature do, again, you have to be really precise. And if you're not, you're going to see games like this. Now, thankfully, you don't play the Browns every single Sunday. You don't play Carolina every single Sunday. And, you're going to play Tennessee and you're going to play, some mediocre-ish defenses where I think Purdy bounces back against. And I would assume against better opponents, Purdy will play better. Purdy just seems to do that. Purdy just seems to kind of raise his play when the stakes are high. And I think the Niners today have avoided what has been a problem for them all year. It's the dreaded, we lost a game. That sucks, but we're going to get them next Sunday. Then you play up and they crush a team, and they come back home and they play bad against a team. Like they finally have won 2 consecutive games. I think since week 2 and 3, or weeks 3 and 4. That's how long it's been. And a big reason for that is because they play so inconsistent on offense, and there's been defensive problems too. But you just can't have Purdy making plays like this. And if this team wants to go anywhere this year, and I mean anywhere, it's gonna be the offense. Purdy has to find a way to figure this out, and I think he will. But you can't throw 2 picks against the Seahawks and 2 picks against Jacksonville and 3 against the Panthers. So 3 or 4 games, you throw multiple picks this year. Like, that doesn't instill confidence in the fan base, and the fan base has a right to be upset, a right to be angry. You just watch Brandon Ayuk's contract get voided, basically, and now you're sitting here at Purdy like, oh my God, I paid you more than Ayuk in a record-breaking contract in the highest contract in team history, and you've thrown, 7 picks in 4 games? It's not good enough. It's never going to be good enough. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Joe Burrow, you're Mahomes, you're Brock. It doesn't matter. Like, you cannot throw 7 picks, if that's the actual number. I'm pretty sure it is, in 4 games, and almost throw 2 more tonight, and almost throw 2 more against the Cardinals and expect the fan base to not say there's a problem. And Purdy has kind of found himself in a rut the last couple, year and a half or so now, where turnovers have been a problem. And you'll take those on a random Monday in the middle of the season, but you can't take those on a random Monday in the middle of the season in a playoff race. You have to have your best players playing their best. And the Niners tonight got like all-time lifetime play from Malik Mustafa, Upton Stout. Ji'Ayir Brown was awesome. Bryce Huff was really good again. The offensive line, albeit playing against one of the worst pass rushers in football, played good enough for Brock. It wasn't like Brock was under duress a lot. He just making mistakes, and that's on him. It's only on him. And I think at some point that's we're just going to have to accept, not that is what the outcome should be, but I think you're going to have to accept that Brock is just never going to change in regards to taking those chances. And it's what makes him really special. It's also what gets him into trouble a lot, at least in recent times. And I think I love what Shanahan did, though, because at halftime, come out, for your first 5 plays, you go passes, get Brock kind of settled down, and then you just kind of play check down. He didn't throw a single pass over 10 air yards in the entire second half because you didn't have to. And I think Brock needs to have more wherewithal in that. And I know it's hard. You're playing a game, you're competitive, but it's like they didn't need Brock to hit home run plays tonight, at all, because he missed all of them, basically. Sometimes, singles and doubles and triples can still score runs, if you want to use a baseball analogy. You don't have to have home runs. The Giants won 3 World Series in 5 years, hitting singles, doubles, and triples and having timely pitching. You don't have to have home runs at times. And I think, Brock gets into the mindset of home run, home run, home run. And like any batter in baseball, you get a hole in your swing. And Brock right now, or at least in 3 of the 4 games he's played this year, has a hole in his swing. And sometimes you get lucky against the Cardinals, have a really good game. And like they didn't need hero Brock Purdy. They just needed a competent quarterback tonight. And it showed because in the second half, when they had a competent quarterback who wasn't making mistakes, the game was stress-free. You score 7 points in the first drive. You could have not coasted, but if you just play check down Charlie, the Panthers weren't doing anything offensively. Like San Francisco, theoretically, this is not, not accurate, but like they only needed 10 points to win. And they got 20, which is great, but sometimes it's about knowing your surroundings, knowing who you're playing, whether it's football, baseball, the NBA, like you don't have to go out there and make a half-court shot to win. Drive to the paint, make a play. Purdy today was going for half-court shots and deep threes and all this stuff. It's just like, it's just like, just get in the paint and make some plays, man. I love grindy, dirty, old-style football. You don't mind wins like that. Like, not to say this is what you want, but like take Mac Jones. That's probably a better example than Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, take Mac Jones. Mac Jones wasn't winning pretty at all. None of those games were pretty. Maybe the Saints game, but that was kind of it. Like, you won a game with a game-winning field goal. Mac turned the ball over one time against the Cardinals. You barely beat, the Saints. That game was close at the end. You barely beat the Rams. You barely beat a lot of teams that Mac played against. And it's like, you don't have to win pretty every single Sunday. You don't have to make a home run play. And it shows. Brock's stat line, I think, is a good indicator as to how bad he played. He was 23 for 32, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and a 58.5 rating. It's just not good. Which sucks because we actually saw tonight that Brock can move a little bit still. Brock pump-faked a guy, made a guy miss, and then got a first down and was like out there like celebrating like he freaking won the hopscotch competition, was doing the freaking dance around and whatnot. It was like, okay, like Brock feels good. Like physically his toe looks really good. But I just like, you have to know the balance of my team needs a big play and I want to make a big play. And I think that Brock at times gets into a mindset of I want to make a big play. And you always want your quarterback looking for a big play. But if it's not there, check down. It's like Brock, that was a big problem for Brock last season, was not taking checkdowns. And I think, not to say that was the exact problem tonight, but it's been a problem this year. And I think Robbie says it perfectly here. Robbie says he's still a young quarterback. He needs to find the balance between gunslinger and reckless. I still have all the confidence in the world in him, but he's smart and he's smart enough to figure it out. You're right. Like, that is a perfect kind of this, right there, like 2 sentences of how you believe in Brock Purdy and what makes sense. Like, there were a lot of things to like in Purdy tonight. Quarterback sneaks, a little mobility. There was some nice plays. Like, it wasn't like Brock was like every throw was terrible. It's just that you just made some really dicey plays. You didn't get away with them, and your team didn't need them. Like, take Mahomes, for example. Take Josh Allen probably isn't the right compare. Well, like, take Baker Mayfield. Purdy and Mayfield are very similar quarterbacks. Baker wants to hit the deep ball all the time. Like, Baker is always looking downfield trying to make plays. And you want that. It's what makes Baker special. It's what makes Baker a number 1 overall draft pick from Cleveland a couple years ago in 2018. It's what makes the Buccaneers a dangerous offense, because any single play, he can beat you downfield. And that is the same thing with Purdy, albeit Baker has a better arm. But like, teams know Purdy will test you downfield. That's a great thing. It keeps defenses honest. It opens up the offense for you. But Baker also, who makes a lot of mistakes too, he'll check it down. He'll run the football. And Purdy just kind of gets caught up in not doing those things. And when you don't have the arm like Baker, you have to be more calculated in your risks. And he's not that all the time. Like, it's like driving. Do you just not put the blinker on and get over and say, I don't know who's next to me, whatever? No, you put the blinker on, check your mirrors, then you go. You want Brock to be a mirror checker. You want Brock to put a blinker on and say, hey, I'm coming over. I'm not taking a risk going 85 miles an hour on the 210, going up from SoCal to Northern California. Like, you want a guy who, yes, can make that risk, and yes, can be a great quarterback and can make big plays, but also you want a guy who's safe and won't give the team the other football. Because if you give the ball away, you're just going to lose football games. And San Francisco escaped tonight because of Brock not doing his job and how great the defense was. Niner Goat 16 says, this is who Brock is. This wasn't a toe issue. His stats are terrible for the past year and a half. I don't think, yes, this is who Brock is from the standpoint of he's not going to not take risks. But I don't Brock can clean up the turnovers. Brock can decide not to make plays. Laurie Matthews says here, Brock needs to learn the difference of when seeing the field well and when he's not. Play smarter football, keep the chains moving. Yeah, like I said, live to fight the next down. It's 3rd and 6 on the opponent's 28-yard line. Play for a field goal there. If the play isn't there, you're better off throwing it away, running for a first down, scrambling for a very close, 4th and 1, who knows, and just realizing I can't afford to take points off the scoreboard for my team. And Brock today almost gave the Panthers 7 points. He didn't. Thank you, Ji'Ayir Brown, and took off at least 3 points from his own offense. And you can't do that. You can't have a 10-point swing that way. And thankfully, this game was a 11-point difference. But let's say the Panthers score a touchdown and it's 17-20, it's 16-20, and they had the ball with 4.5 minutes left. They're calling that drive differently, and the game looks different. But they won, and I do believe Brock can get better. I do believe Brock will bounce back. I do believe that Brock will be playing smarter football. He did make one more dumb mistake that was not turnover, not related to throwing the ball away or turnovers, because San Francisco is winning 20-9, and on 2nd and 7 with 2 timeouts left, he gets called for a delay of game. Then you have to run a 2nd and 12 play, and you have to punt the football. Why are we taking delay of games up by 11 with 2 timeouts on our board still, when you can just call a timeout and still make it 2nd and 7? Of all the mistakes Purdy made, that the delay game isn't the most egregious, but it could have been the most costly, funny enough, had the Panthers been able to do anything offensively, which they weren't. But let's table the Brock Purdy conversation because there's a lot more to get into. Christian McCaffrey, have thyself a day, a revenge game, if you want to call it that, for Christian McCaffrey. 31 touches, was that 141 yards, 89 on the ground, 53 through the air. He had a touchdown in this play on the ground, kind of capped off the win and kind of locked things down for them late in the game. He was great. CMC is CMC. I don't know why he lost a step, and the running game I know hasn't been the same, but it's picking up steam recently. And you saw in that first drive, it was going to be a feed CMC game throughout the rest of it. First 15 plays of the game, 9 of them went to Christian McCaffrey for 40 yards. Had a great 3rd and 10 conversion, kind of dove forward on first down toward the pylon. Then hit a nice screen pass from Purdy with Pearsall and Juszczyk on the outside blocking for him for a big run. Was a really nice game from Christian McCaffrey, and it has been. He's on his way for another 1,000-yard season. And if he gets there, he'll be the only running back in NFL history to accomplish 2 1,000-yard seasons in NFL history. That's a Hall of Famer. CMC's on the trek for the Hall of Fame. I know it doesn't seem that way sometimes. Maybe the total rushing yards aren't going to be there, but from an offensive weapon standpoint, he is by far, he's still one of the best in football. Maybe he doesn't have the exact same speed or have the exact same ability, but I could say even tonight he made some guys miss in the open space. You haven't seen that most of the year. And dare I say, CMC in the running game's hitting their stride at the right time again for the offense. You look at the stats again, he had 89 yards. San Francisco, who really hasn't been able to run the football very much, 147 yards on the ground. You take away 16 from Purdy and 2 from Pearsall. What is that? 125 yards? still, like, they weren't doing that all year. Now they're doing it almost every single weekend. So McCaffrey looks great. Brian Robinson looks good. Pushing dudes over and just being a beast and getting those like dirty yards to alleviate Christian McCaffrey. Happy they're getting him more carries throughout the weeks. He had 7 more tonight. He was involved in the passing game 1 time. That's what you want to see. How can you get CMC off the field for 10 plays and let Robinson, be out there? That's exactly what transpired against Carolina. You love seeing it. George Kittle, as always, 6 receptions, 78 yards. He just continues to be Mr. Consistent. He's a gift. And I will always feel confident, honestly, not no matter the quarterback, but whether it's Mac or Purdy, albeit I'll be more with Purdy, but feel confident that we're going to win games if you have Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle out there. They flashed a stat on the screen. I didn't see what it actually was, but I believe the total number was like 22-8 when CMC and Kittle play together. That's absurd. You just don't see teams have cores like that and see difference makers on rosters like that. And it shows you how dynamic they are as a whole. Kittle and CMC are awesome. Even Jauan Jennings, who got freaking punched in the little JJs tonight by Trevon Merrick near the end of the game. I know him and Merrick were kind of going back and forth in the kind of post-game scrum or whatnot, but I'm going to assume Jauan probably gets fined for his part in the back and forth, but Merrick may get suspended. You just don't punch people in the little JJs, if you will. You just don't do that thing. I mean, he had a big club on his hand too. You just don't do that. Like you can like seriously medically damage somebody. It's just like low ball, like just stupid stuff. But Jauan, on his 1 touchdown reception from Brock Purdy, I may add, carries essentially, he busts through 3 Panther defenders and fights for contact, had a handful of 3rd down conversions, hence 3rd Jauan on display tonight. 5 receptions, 41 yards, 1 touchdown. I think Jauan has a touchdown in 3 consecutive games. Giants, Cardinals, or 3 consecutive games? 3? No. 3 of his last 4 games. Sorry, math is hard for me. 3 of his last 4 games, Jauan has touchdowns. So maybe we rethink the re-signing Jauan Jennings discussion. It might be why not bring him back? But knowing him, I want to play elsewhere. But I love Jauan Jennings still. That guy's awesome. He's a dog out there doing his own thing, just doing it well continually. I do want to give quick shout outs to Colton McKivitz saving Christian McCaffrey's fumble. How about some high-end effort from a right tackle? Isn't that awesome? And like to give you some kind of context, like McCaffrey's running left on the play. McKivitz is trailing the play from the right tackle spot. And somehow he recovers the fumble. So good on him, although Purdy paid him back by throwing a pick 2 plays later. So maybe it wasn't that important, but still. Just look, your offense can't score 20 points and you win games, and somehow it happened. But we knew coming into this game, the Panthers just were not a good offensive team. And we knew that. I had them scoring 17 points, albeit I had San Francisco scoring 31. Clearly, I'm an idiot. But I just didn't expect the Panthers offense to be able to do much. We talked about in the preview episode of this. I just don't buy Bryce Young. I don't buy what the offense does. And I literally said to you guys on here, on YouTube, on the audio podcasting platforms, which I will say this as well, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and use our promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Niners in Cleveland, then back home against Tennessee in 3 weeks' time. Get yourself some tickets. See this team play. You can either boo or cheer Brock Purdy. I don't care, but enjoy some discounted tickets on me. $20 off, SeatGeek.com, 49ers Access, 49 ERSACCESS. That said, the Niners defense was awesome. And one of the big kind of contention points for the fan base was, how do you stop Rico Dowdle? And a lot of fans were worried of, he's having a great season, and all that's true. Dowdle has been tremendous for Carolina this year. He jumped Hubbard on their depth chart for the RB1 spot. But I told you, a lot of his yards are after contact. If San Francisco can tackle, they'll have a really good day. And that sounds super simple. It wasn't like I was giving you some secret formula to how to stop a running back, but that's what happened. Dowdle had 6 carries, 10 touches as a whole, only 74 yards, 38 yards on the ground. Like his longest carry was 17 yards. His longest reception was 12. They essentially stopped one of, right now, at least coming into this week, a top 5 running team in football. And they held one of the top 5 runners in the league to a total of 74 total yards and 38 on the ground. Dare I say San Francisco's run defense is playing better? Now you're playing the Panthers offense, which is averaging 18 points a game, but people said, "Oh, you're playing the Cardinals last Sunday, and it's Amari DiMercato, and it's Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight. Those guys aren't good." Well, Dowdle's good. In San Francisco, Alfred Collins and company, Bryce Huff and Curtis Robinson and all those guys did their job really well. Jason Pinnock still sucks, and I'm going to keep screaming that. They have to find somebody else to play big nickel, but you keep winning, things probably aren't going to change. I do think they could be better defensively if they benched Pinnock for somebody else, but I digress. That said, they also just held Bryce Young in check, and Bryce Young's not good. Like I said it to you, last week previewing this game, that Bryce Huff's just not good. And the biggest takeaway from the game was being able to answer the call defensively when the quarterback, Brock Purdy, threw 3 interceptions. When your team and your offense puts a defense, a young one I may add, they're back against the wall, how do you respond? What'd they do? Purdy throws a first pick. The ball is on San Francisco's 16-yard line when the Panthers' subsequent drive starts. It ends by Ji'Ayir Brown getting an interception in the end zone. What a great way to respond. Erase Purdy's mistake, make Bryce Young make one of his own. That's a great start. Wow. Okay. This team doesn't get takeaways. They have 3 interceptions in their last 2 games. Who would have thought that would be the case? The second Purdy interception, what do? The defense forces a 3 and out. McMillan drops a wide open 3rd down conversion. They force a punt. Okay, you are facing mistakes by your offense, and you're coming up big each time. The third pick of Purdy, the ball on San Francisco's 33-yard line. 2 picks tonight gave the Panthers the ball on San Francisco's or inside San Francisco's 35-yard line. Like, again, you just can't make those throws like that if you're Purdy. But how does the defense respond? They get a pick on the first drive, a 3 and out on the second drive, force a punt. On the third interception from Purdy, they force a field goal because on back-to-back plays on 2nd and 3rd down, Ji'Ayir Brown makes an excellent tackle against Jalen Coker on a screen pass towards the left sideline. Then on 3rd and goal, it's a screen to Hubbard, and Mustafa and Brown just are running at the dude full speed and just lay him out. Like, this defense, the safeties particularly, were flying around, making plays, and doing things you expect a Robert Saleh defense to do when they had guys like Jimmy Ward and Talanoa Hufanga and Fred Warner out there. It was like you watched what may not continue, but for tonight was an elite Niners defense playing really good football and making plays and getting takeaways and playing bend don't break defense. And that was the difference in the game. Brock Purdy played bad enough to lose this game, and the defense and Christian McCaffrey and company bailed them out. That's the truth. And you have to praise the defense because the defense was awesome. Robert Saleh continues to earn being the highest paid defensive coordinator in football. Now that Chip Kelly got fired, he might be the highest paid coordinator in football. I don't know, but he deserves that money. Ji'Ayir Brown, undoubtedly player of the game. Undoubtedly. A guy who we have talked about over and over again at nauseum. I'm like, oh my God, he's terrible. Oh my goodness, he can't tackle. Like, honestly, you should call him Ji'Ayir, oh my God, Brown. Really. Like, he's made so many boneheaded plays, missed tackles. He just hasn't been good for most of the season. And tonight he played as Shanahan called his best game as a 49er. He got 2 interceptions on the night. One of them essentially sealed the game, although it kind of didn't because Panthers still found a way to come back and score some more points or shake a field goal, but both of them were pivotal too, because the first one we already talked about was off Purdy's first pick. It's 3rd and 2. It's a read option play. And Brown covers the tight end, forces Young to run for a first down instead of score a touchdown on the play. Then the very next play from Carolina, it's another passing play, and kind of like how no, it's not the exact comparison, but like he essentially baited Bryce Young into the end zone of like, I'm going to play up, then I'm going to cut back last second and throw it right to him. And you love that. You love guys being able to play with their instincts and create turnovers, and you love it. The second one, though, so you already stopped one touchdown drive, which kind of seemed guaranteed at that point, which would have tied the game up and made this game 7-7 after 3 or 4 drives in the game. But then on the second interception, the Panthers are marching downfield. The Panthers are on San Francisco's 33-yard line. They're looking good. They're making some hay, and it seems like they're going to make this game close at the end. There is a real threat of this game could be 20-16, 20-17, barring a 2-point conversion. And what does Tig do? He kind of undercuts the throw from McMillan. Green should have been called for holding on the play, but it wasn't called, so whatever. Undercuts it, gets the second pick, and stops what could have been 2 scoring drives by the Panthers in this one. That's just awesome. Ji'Ayir Brown deserves flowers and praise and whatnot. Tommy Huxley gives $2 more. It's 6 for the night. Tommy Huxley has given 3 super chats to honor Brock Purdy's 3 interceptions in this one against Carolina. But he says, I was dead wrong about Tig, that being Ji'Ayir Brown. If he can keep it up, we'll see. He'll have a chance against Shitter Sanders and Cam Ward the next 3 weeks or so. But big game from Ji'Ayir Brown. Love to see it. Love to see young guys who are in year 3 who haven't played great football as of recent start to kind of come into their own. He said during the year, and he was wrong, but I'm a top 5 safety in football. Well, for at least one night, you played like one Ji'Ayir Brown. He was great in coverage. The Niners only got beat once over the top tonight, and that's a really nice thing to see. And that was Renardo Green, who I think he believed he had safety over the top help, but that's one mistake and whatnot. But Ji'Ayir Brown, awesome stuff. Love to see it. Continue to do it, please. Please, please, please. Going into the pass rush, Bryce Huff was great, and then Clelin Ferrell got the lone sack of the day. So many people complained about Brissett dropped back 45 times, and we didn't get 1 sack, and blah-blah-blah-blah. And okay, you're right. It sucked. I don't know what you expect. I don't expect our guys to get home very often, especially against a veteran quarterback who gets rid of the ball quickly. But like I told you, Bryce Young will hold on to the ball forever. Forever. And he did, and it led to a sack. Bryce Young kind of falls into the same way Purdy does, where he's always looking to make a play. He'll scramble, he'll throw picks, all that stuff. It's kind of similar, in the way they play, albeit maybe I should compare a first overall pick who has been a bust so far to a $53 million quarterback, but I just did, I guess. But Clelin Ferrell, a huge sack on 2nd and 10. The ball's on, San Francisco's 41-yard line. He gets a sack. Panthers marching, kind of stymies their drive in its place. More on the defense. I thought Alfred Collins was awesome tonight. I mean, Alfred Collins has just been awesome from the injury in training camp and not looking like himself and everything. And he has picked up speed so quickly. He's been such a presence. He tipped a ball which could have been a touchdown pass to Coker in the back of the end zone, which I think is the drive that the San Francisco 49ers held Carolina to a field goal on Purdy's 3rd interception. So it's all encompassing on defense, defensive line, interior, exterior, and the secondary for the 49ers. Alfred Collins also deserves flowers. Jordan Elliott, I know he had 1 bad penalty, which, whatever, but I think he had a good game as well. Clogging running lanes, getting some pass rush involved in there, chasing guys down, high effort. Again, if you don't have the dogs, at least give me effort. And San Francisco gave me both tonight. They gave me dogs and effort. That's what you want to see out there. I thought Nick Martin, who is getting more reps as the weeks go by, albeit not many on the actual base down plays for San Francisco, but forced a special teams fumble. It was recovered by Carolina, but he's making plays in a small effort or small time he does get out there. So good to see a young guy doing stuff. It's really fun to see a guy who, I think we can still say was a reach of a pick, at least in year one, and maybe other players would have suited this team, but you have to give patience to guys. Nick Martin has shown that in a very small sample size, with 7 tackles against the Cardinals last week and a forced fumble against Carolina on Monday, that he can make plays in the NFL. And that's really important to see. And hopefully his growth can continue as the season progresses. Other guys I want to shout out, Bernardo Green. I think he had a big PBU on 3rd and 7 early in the game, forced a punt at a halftime, kind of stopped the Panthers' momentum. And definitely kind of put an end to what seemed like any chance they had to win the game. Because after that, like at a halftime, San Francisco scores a touchdown. The game kind of felt over at that point, but big PBU by Green on 3rd and 7, force a punt, and it helped the offense kind of calm themselves down, get Purdy back out there, and of course get a touchdown on the other end of things. He did get beat over the middle by a McMillan double move, which wasn't pretty, but Green otherwise played really well. And did allow the lone touchdown to the Panthers tonight, which sucks, and he'll hate that. But I think San Francisco's defense did a great job. Like, we walked into today against the Panthers defense, or offense, that had Bryce Young setting a new franchise record for passing yards in a game, and McMillan walked in as not just one of the best rookie receivers, one of the best wide receivers in regards to production, and he had 7 targets and 2 catches. Like, I'm not kidding. I think San Francisco, this may be one of their best defensive performances all year. Now, it's against the Panthers, so, what does it mean? We'll see as the year goes on, but, like, this to me is more impressive than the Falcons game. And, yeah, the Falcons have Pitts in London and Bijan Robinson, so maybe you can pick that game instead, but I think this game was better. The offense wasn't making mistakes in that game, and they were today, and the defense faced a lot of tests, and they came out clean almost every single time. They forced turnovers. They stopped, Dowdle, who was a top 5 running back. They stopped McMillan, who was a top 5 receiver in football, and they held combined all those guys to 12 total touches for 41 plus 38. What is that? 79 yards? No, that's not right. I'm dumb. 61 and 38 yards. So was that 100 yards, 99 yards? If you told me coming into Monday that they were going to hold Dowdle and McMillan to 12 touches and 99 yards or 100 yards, I would have called you no way. And they did. Like, that's how good San Francisco's defense was against Carolina in this one. And that's why they won 20-9. The other guys you want to bring out Upton Stout too. Stout, I think there's been a roller coaster. And like Ji'Ayir Brown, you can give the Upton, oh my God, Stout of like, that was an amazing play, oh my God, to that was a terrible play, oh my God. And that's what young guys give you sometimes. And Stout, I think the last 2 games has really hit his stride and looked really good in coverage. He dropped an INT tonight, would have been a highlight play and best play of the season for him. But he's playing winnable football in the slot and doing a darn good job of it. I thought San Francisco, and he did a great job guarding McMillan the entire night. And you cannot walk away feeling unimpressed by the Niners defense where, consider the opponent, sure, right? We're all going to knock Chitter Sanders playing the Raiders and whatnot, and that's fair. I get that. But, the Niners are playing a team that's in a playoff race, which is impressive to come in at your own place, defend it, win by 2 scores, despite what happened to your quarterback and the mistakes he made. Like, those things matter. And this defense, I think, you want to call and response defense. When the offense, starts messing up and the opposing offense starts calling, you want a response. When they're saying touchdown, you're saying no way, kind of stuff. And so, really, really impressed by the defense. Also, Matt Gay making kicks. I forgot Pinheiro was even out for a second. Okay, Matt Gay, I see you, Matt Gay. You can stay for 2 more weeks or so. Give me a week, get Pinheiro back. good to see Matt Gay out there making some kicks. Winning football games somehow, or playing for winning teams somehow helps kickers be better. Let me see where his kicks were from. His longest one was from 47 yards. He was 2 for 2 on field goals and extra points. He had 8 points tonight. Was one of the biggest difference makers in this game for obvious reasons. And we told you he was nails from inside the 50. If you continue to give Matt Gay inside the 50 field goals, you're going to make them. So an overall good team win. A lot of the mistakes got to get cleaned up. I have faith it will happen, but I am never, ever, ever going to complain about beating a team that's in the wild card hunt to keep you in the wild card 7 spot leading into Thanksgiving. Bears play Philadelphia on Black Friday. The Lions and Cowboys play on Thanksgiving. A lot of games to watch, and maybe San Francisco can kind of sit back on those 2 days of football and maybe get some help. Didn't get any this week, but again, climbed 8-4 on the season. They continue to win conference games that matter a lot in a very, very, very tight NFC wildcard race with the Lions, the Packers, the Panthers still, the Buccaneers, the Bears all vying for spots. And they also climbed to above 500 on the season at home. Rough game, ugly game, but sometimes it's not how you win, it's the fact that you win. So good on San Francisco. Brock Purdy, for the love of God, be better. Just play your game, but play it more conservatively at times. But don't Brock, it'll be a lot more gunslinging as the year goes on. But I'll take it. 29 is the win. They have to get better if they want to go further, but we're 8-4, and we have the Browns and Shedeur Sanders and Myles Garrett up next on the road, 10 a.m. in Cleveland. Going to be another dogfight, and I wouldn't want it any other way. A win is a win. That is all that matters. San Francisco gets the victory 20-9. Drop your comments down below. What do you think about Brock Purdy? Have you lost faith? Are you all in on playing Mac Jones? Where are you on Brock? Does he need to play more conservative? Do you want to see a more game manager performance from Brock Purdy like the second half showed us he could do against Carolina? Are you saying, no, let Brock be Brock? There's something special in there. What about Christian McCaffrey? Another amazing game, on pace for another 1,000 yard season. This, I believe, was his 8th game of the season, reaching 50 receiving yards and 50 rushing yards. Just continues to be legendary for this Niners team. But drop your comments down below. What'd you think of the defense and Ji'Ayir Brown and company? Put those comments down there. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We will preview Niners versus Browns as the week goes on. Not sure Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, who knows, but it'll be out to you, I promise you, later on this week. But Niners get the win 20-9. Like, share, subscribe. Leave us that 5-star audio podcast review. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett. And until next time, stay faithful.